Hey friends, I'm Shannon Guerra. This post is called We Who Are Many. How We Treat the Body Exposes Who We Are. It was originally published on February 27th, 2026. I now have a crown. Not the fun fancy kind, but the tooth kind. It was a 2-hour deal, so I set up the next module in a course I'm taking and plugged in my headphones, hoping I could focus on a teaching about Ephesians while I mostly ignored what the dentist was doing. After the first hour, phase 1 was done, and I removed my headphones as the dentist explained that we needed to wait a bit before finishing. They left me to my own devices until the next round. My lecture had about 20 minutes left, so I started to put my headphones back in, but realized I could no longer feel one side of my face. Is this thing in or not? I jabbed the headphone around, feeling nothing. My ear. Is this my ear? Eventually, I gave up and just used the other side. It's so weird, though, not feeling your own body. And later, it was worse. As the numbness was wearing off, I felt a faint tingle and then a strong itch on my chin, but scratching it did absolutely nothing. No sensation there whatsoever, except the itch. I knew I couldn't keep scratching. It didn't do any good, and I couldn't trust myself not to draw blood. All the restless, agitated feelings, and no idea what to do about them. This is a picture of life for some of us lately. In that situation, I did all the things I could think of. Essential oils, cold pack, held the mug of hot tea against my chin, prayed in tongues, wriggled my nose and made faces, whatever might distract me from the agony of an itch that couldn't be scratched. In other life situations, I have researched and studied, scoured listings and options, and prayed and prayed and prayed. Have had dozens, maybe 100 conversations about recent events and life-changing moves. And I have written thousands and thousands of words, but they've just sat in my documents. I could not trust myself to publish without drawing blood. This is an odd season for us, maybe for you too, where so many big things are happening and some of them seem to be converging while others make no obvious sense at all. Emotions, thoughts, questions, and prayer flood into a bottleneck that has made it hard to write publicly because I don't know where to start. Each thread seems so entangled with so many others, and many of them are none of the internet's business. Ah, the internet, that modern coliseum where even Christians go to be entertained by the bleeding of their brothers and sisters. So I've sat at this computer for weeks trying to find a single theme among it all, among multiple documents and about twice as many subjects: relationships, community, maturity, honesty, boundaries, biblical literacy, preparation, willingness, sacrifice. Sometimes we just need to sit and wait until the numbness wears off, until the debris settles, until the itch goes away. Can we discipline ourselves to manage the frustration of not knowing what exactly to do, instead of thoughtlessly drawing blood? Because this is a major part of how we care for the body. Here's 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 12. O our God, will you not execute judgment upon our enemies? For we are powerless against this great multitude that is coming against us. We do not know what to do, but our eyes are on you. Really, isn't that good for us? I don't want human answers. I need God's perspective. We need kingdom solutions. So can we wait and trust and not default to the insecurity of self-protection mode until we hear his answer? Can we worship him instead of our own entitlement and comfort? Here's Romans 12, verses 3 through 5. For by the grace given to me, I say to everyone among you, not to think of yourself more highly than you ought to think, but to think with sober judgment, each according to the measure of faith that God has assigned. For as in one body we have many members, and not all members have the same function, so we, who are many, are one body in Christ, and individually we are members one of another. Here's a word that some of us need to hear. God does not speak in knee-jerk responses. He doesn't speak through trite cuts and condescension. He did not protect himself at the expense of others. A bruised reed he will not break, and he will not rashly re-victimize the wounded. When we do these things, we're not acting like him. We're acting like someone who has no feeling for the body. But Jesus knows how the body feels, because it is his body. Here's 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 21, and then verses 26 and 27. The eye cannot say to the hand, I have no need of you, nor again the head to the feet, I have no need of you. If one member suffers, all suffer together with it. If one member is honored, all rejoice together with it. Now you are the body of Christ, and individually members of it. How do we care for the body when we know it's vulnerable and we're in danger of drawing blood? Sometimes we are walking razor blades around people who are raw and wounded. We cannot take someone who has shriveled into the fetal position and pry them open with a crowbar, however much we want to see them open up and live. We cannot force someone to be who they truly are, to instantly overcome grief, trauma, aging, abuse, or disability. We cannot just tell them to do more and try harder and be like us, because they are not like us. Or maybe they are, but we don't like to admit it. We'd rather think we're smarter, tougher, stronger, better, more whole, more righteous. But what that really exposes is self-righteousness toward the broken. We want to feel good about being benevolent, as long as it doesn't cost us too much. If we really want to be the body, though, it will cost us everything. Time, ease, misunderstandings, our sleep schedule, our preconceived notions, and for sure, our pride. Can we shift to boundaries for a minute? Because here we have tension and paradox. In one sense, we need to draw close to the hurting and face all the awkward discomfort of doing so. But also, when the wounded are actively wounding others, we draw a line. Here and no further. In the Old Testament, I've worked my way to the middle of Joshua. Past the exciting parts, now it's all about geography, territories, and boundaries. Like so. Here's Joshua 15, verses 2 and 3. And their south boundary ran from the end of the Dead Sea, from the bay that faces southward. It goes out southward of the ascent of Akrabim, passes along to Zin, and goes up south of Kadesh Barnea, along by Hezron, up to Adar, and makes a turn to Karka. Did you skim? Did you skip all that? If you did, you probably missed it. No shame. I've read this a couple dozen times, and I missed it too. But here's what I noticed this time. Boundaries are detailed. They have nuance. Go up here, then follow along that ridge there, and make a turn to Karka. We don't just draw arbitrary lines or make categorical swaths of judgment. We don't treat people according to templates and formulas. We must see people individually to see them rightly. If we don't see individuals, we're not looking at all. When someone hurts us, we walk in love and forgiveness, and we persist in keeping our heart for the other person. But we put space between us. Our pastor illustrated this recently in a way I'll never forget. I'm not holding it against you, he said, and then he took a step back. And then another offense comes, and he repeated, I'm not holding it against you, and he took another step back. If trust erodes, that space between widens. We want the best for that person, and we don't delight in their misery. But there is a boundary between us, and we can increase or decrease that space as needed. Until we can see the Holy of Holies in each other and both treat each other with the honor that recognizes the sacred image bearer in each of us, that space will not diminish. Sometimes people have a hard time acting like themselves because they don't know, or they forgot, who they are. And if they don't know themselves, they're going to have a hard time treating others appropriately too. The grandmother with dementia, the young adult with brain injury, the insecure coworker, or the grumpy teen who's unsure of everything and everyone, or the friend who's not acting like themselves lately. I don't know what causes it all. Too many things. Scar tissue, numbness, hardness, parts of the body not responding the way they're supposed to because they've lost feeling in different areas. Dear Christian, this is where we have to practice tender nuance with our fellow believers. Boundaries with patience, a soft word that turns away wrath, a sense of humor that laughs without degrading. We have to choose to see the Holy of Holies in the one who's not acting like themselves and who they're meant to be, however they're behaving or reacting or surviving in this moment, in this season, at this age. We're not in denial. They are. And it's imperative that we do not join them in that denial. Beloved, did you forget you were made in His image? Worship is still happening day and night in the temple. I wish you would sing again. We cannot force it to happen. We have to be willing to wait, listen, abide, and admit our unknowing while holding to the core of who we are. This is what Jesus said in John 13:35. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. What about the weak, or the wounded, or the difficult? What about the ones who think differently than us, or the ones who challenge us? What about the one who can't remember what season it is, or the one who claps during the wrong part of the church service, or the one who inconveniences our carefully polished image? Can't we just love those ones from a distance and still pat ourselves on the back? No. Here's 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 22 through 25. On the contrary, the members of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable. And those members of the body that we think less honorable, we clothe with greater honor. And our less respectable members are treated with greater respect, whereas our more respectable members do not need this. But God has so arranged the body, giving the greater honor to the inferior member, that there may be no dissension within the body, but the members may have the same care for one another. How the body cares for each other is our message. This is who we are. It may not be a flattering assessment. We need to check to see if we have feeling in all the right places. Because loving the body should cost us something, since it cost Him everything to add us to it.